The next stretch we're going to go through is the QL, Quadratus Lumborum stretch. Not very well named, it's just a square muscle in the lower back, called a square muscle in the lower back. Pretty important again for anyone who sits particularly to the side. If you have a mouse on one side all the time, or you're working over to the left or to the right, that muscle takes a bit of a pounding, it tightens up and can really put pressure on your lower back by pulling into that direction. So if we do the standing one first,
yep.
And the do's and don'ts, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm just going to quite simply put my hands over my head. I'm going to turn to the side down so they can...
So as Dominic just said, this muscle situates from about here all the way into the top of the crest of your pelvis. So any weight, so for example, for you girls out there carrying heavy bags, or school kids walking to school, or anyone carrying a bag, if they're carrying it on one shoulder, it'll be the opposite side that activates more than the side they're carrying the bag on. As Dom said, he's just put his arms over his head, which allows us to stretch both sides anyway, just bringing the shoulders out of the way and allowing latissimus dorsi to sort of give you a stretch anyway. It's going to put this area under sort of tension anyway. And if you just lean towards the right now, as you can see, Dominic's trying to anchor his hip stroke left side pelvis to the floor and not allow it to move at all, because to get a really good stretch into one of these muscles, it has to be stable but also not moving. Because if you show now Dom the way not to do it, a lot of patients you'll find do this because it doesn't give such quite a good stretch through here, which obviously when something is quite painful, it's nice not to give it too much of a stretch. But this would sort of negate the whole point of the stretch, because you're going to more stretch the glutes and further down into the pelvis. So once again, as you can see from Dom, he's lifted his both arms above. That takes the sort of latissimus dorsi out of the way and also puts the whole under a bit of tension, as you can feel now. Hey, Dom?
Yep, it's good.
As he leans towards the right now, he's keeping his pelvis still. As you can see, there's no movement there, and it's just the stretch away which allows that stretch through that quadratus lumborum.
There is a slight variation on that. As Dan says, the pelvic sway is what gets in the way of it being done properly. So sometimes you'll see your therapist say, cross the legs over and lean across, because it prevents you pushing across too much with your pelvis. And it gets into that area, as we said, into here a little bit deeper. There's also a seated stretch as well, which is my particular favourite. The only don'ts with this is if you have any knee problems, it can be a little bit tough on the knee. But I'm going to show you front on and then...
Front and back, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. So
if you have a seat then, mate.
Right.
Here, go on.
So to anchor the pelvis, I've got to try and trap this leg, and the way we do it is we put the ankle underneath the knee, not sitting on it all the way back, just underneath the knee is enough to do that. And then again, we're just going to lean over and forward slightly until we feel that stretch get right into that corner. And when I go around the back again, if you show me how that works, we're just going to go over and hold that stretch. Again, we're holding it for
about up to 30 seconds. And it's always within the limits, so if it's feeling very painful, then to maybe ease off the stretch slightly. It's all to do with just all you want to be able to feel whilst doing these stretches is a stretch, no pain whatsoever involved in that.
Good.
Okay, if you have a swing around, mate, yeah.
Go the other way.
So same principle as crossing the legs, as Dominic mentioned, is that sitting down will anchor that pelvis, allows for a lot less movement through that area, so it really sort of localises or targets that main stretch area, which is just above the pelvis to sort of a third up the back. As you can see, Dominic just slightly leaned forward, but also bringing that arm, which will take all of this right-sided musculature out of the way and allows it all to have a good stretch. You'll probably feel the stretch up into the shoulder anyway. Can you feel that in there at the moment? Yeah, which is a good thing. But the same thing, as long as you're feeling just a stretch, it shouldn't be painful. As you can see, all this area here is quite tight, which allows that good facilitation of that stretch to be put in there.